Today, we are getting into a really important and, frankly, life-changing topic. We're going to be exploring Lundy Bancroft's incredible book, Why Does He Do That? That question, it's the one that just haunts so many people who are stuck in these painful, confusing, and honestly terrifying relationships. It's this desperate search for an answer to behavior that makes absolutely no sense. And for way too long, people have been left feeling like it's their fault. Like they're the ones who are confused or even going crazy, just trying to figure out the actions of a partner who is angry and controlling. But what if the real answer is something completely different from what you've been told? We're about to unpack the core ideas from Bancroft's work, and trust me, he offers a clear and truly revolutionary answer. Okay, so let's jump right in. And the best place to start is by tackling the biggest, most common myth about why abuse happens in the first place. This right here changes everything. We're so often told that abusers just lose it or have a bad temper. But what Bancroft argues is that it's the complete opposite. Abusive behavior isn't a loss of control, it is a method of control. It's not some fleeting moment of rage, it's a deep-seated, permanent mindset. And that mindset, that's the engine that drives all of this. It's this profound sense of entitlement, this core belief that they have a right to run their partner's life. Think about Glenn, a man from the book who literally forbade his partner from even talking to other people. That's not just anger, you see. That's ownership. That is all about control. Okay, so if it's not some kind of uncontrollable anger issue, then where does this need for control actually come from? I mean, are people just born this way? Well, the research is pretty clear. Absolutely not. And this is so important. Being an abuser is a learned behavior. This just dismantles so many of the common excuses, right? Like having a rough childhood or dealing with past trauma. Now, while those things are definitely serious, Bancroft is very clear that they don't create an abuser. Learning does. So how does someone learn this? Well, it often starts in the home, watching one parent dominate and intimidate the other, and just soaking that in as what's normal. Then it gets reinforced by a culture that sometimes mistakes jealousy for passion or control for being protective. And over years, these learned behaviors just become second nature. And this leads us to a really critical point. Abusers are often total masters of deception. The controlling side usually isn't obvious on day one. Nope, it creeps in little by little, often disguised as something totally different. Here are some of those early warning signs you really have to watch for. And notice none of these are about physical violence. It's all about setting up a power dynamic. If he's the victim in every single story about his exes, it means he takes zero responsibility. If he's pushing for a serious commitment right away, well, that's to limit your time to see the real him. And that feeling of being indebted to him, that is a classic, powerful tool for manipulation. The story of Alan and Tori is just a perfect, chilling example of this. Alan spent years doing favors for Tori's family, but he was using that supposed generosity as a weapon. He later turned it all around, claiming they took advantage of him, and he used his own actions to drive a wedge between Tori and her biggest support system. It's a textbook tactic: create dependency and then cut off all the lifelines. And this is exactly why it is so important to check in with yourself. Seriously, how does the relationship make you feel? Abuse almost always starts with these little acts of disrespect and control long before it ever gets physical. If you find yourself constantly feeling afraid or depressed or just hopeless, that's a massive red flag. Please don't ignore it. So if any of these signs are hitting a little too close to home, you have to understand that your safety is, without a doubt, the #1 priority. The longer you stay, the more tangled things get and the harder it can be to leave. And that's why making a safety plan isn't being dramatic. It is absolutely essential. A safe exit has to be planned carefully and in total secrecy. It's not just one big move, it's a whole series of smart, deliberate steps. So while you're still there, you're setting up lifelines, like a secret code word with a friend that says, "I'm in danger," without tipping off your partner. It's about getting your important documents together so you can start over. And then, after you're out, it's all about locking things down and securing your new, safe environment. Okay, I really need you to hear this. This is the single most critical piece of advice in this entire explainer. The most dangerous, volatile time for someone in an abusive relationship is the exact moment they try to leave. Telling your partner you plan to leave can trigger their most extreme, violent, and controlling behavior.
Your safety truly depends on you being gone before they even know it's happening. So, this leads us to the final question, and honestly, it's probably the hardest one. After all the pain, after all the control, is it even possible for an abuser to genuinely change?
A lot of people really hope that therapy is the magic answer. But Bancroft warns us it's just not that simple. I mean, take the story of Van, a man who went to therapy after he nearly killed his partner. Even though he said he felt sorry, actually changing that deep, ingrained mindset of control, it was an incredibly slow, difficult, and painful process for him. The truth is, therapy by itself is not a magic wand. For real, lasting change to even be on the table, Bancroft lays out these incredibly strict conditions. The abuser has to stop making excuses and admit to everything they've done. They have to understand that their behavior is fundamentally wrong, not just that it has bad consequences for them. And this is the big one. The burning desire to change has to come from inside him, not because he's being pressured or just wants to get his partner back. It's a really high bar, and sadly, it's one that very few are ever willing or able to clear.
So, what's the whole point of all this? It's about shifting your entire perspective. Stop asking, why is he so angry? And start asking, why does he feel so entitled to control me? That understanding, it's powerful. But knowing isn't enough. The most important step you can ever take is always putting your own well being and your safety first.
And so, we're going to leave you with this question, because this isn't about him anymore. This is about you. Knowing the why behind his behavior, that's step one. Deciding what you're going to do for yourself, well, that's the step that changes absolutely everything.